I want to keep sharing about what I'm going through, trying to push myself to another level of success. And it's been a lot of, I don't know, emotionally, psychologically challenging at times, and you get a lot of stuff that bubbles up. So I think others probably can connect with this, but I'm going to share what's been happening the last few weeks. So I talked about my story of I've been day trading for futures for forever. I don't even know how long, 20 years almost right now. And so I have that skill set down, and there's not a lot of advancement for me in that skill set beyond what I've already done. And when it's busy and I understand it, I size up. And this is a skill I always have, and I can make money with it, and that's great. I got that figured out. So the next thing is, how do I take the money I've made now, which I don't need really to trade futures, and how do I really scale myself up more? And I've determined that it needs to be stock trading in terms of position sizes and holding times, probably stuff that sometimes lasts a few days to a few weeks. And if it's going to be a few months or longer, it'll be put in a different account with smaller size. But it's thematic stuff. It'll be earnings winners. It'll be things that have a catalyst. But a lot of it is, it's my own art project in a way, because I've taken things that I used to do in futures, which futures is more of a game theory market positioning where people stuck in a leveraged product type trade, or big fundamental days in the economy when something doesn't work the way it's supposed to, or there's really high volatility, the coronavirus, or things like that. That's great futures trading territory, or index or volatility, inverse ETFs, or whatever you want to do. I think that stuff works great. But for the majority of the other time, it's normal market conditions, and that's where I think I can really make strides and use a lot of that capital I've accumulated to kind of have a second or third strategy. And so what I've done is, I'm just going to tell you what my plan is, because it's changing all the time. It's okay. So it was day trading futures. So let's try day trading stocks. I thought, let's see how that goes. So I get in there in the morning, and a lot of times I would just come in right at the open for futures because I don't really need any pre-market activity. But now I'm noticing that to day trade stocks, I need to be in, I'm on the West Coast, it's 6:30 a.m. So I have to be in earlier. So I have to be in at 5 or 5:30 because I need to study all the earnings winners. I need to figure out the catalysts, the biotech announcements. So there's all this stuff that I want to process, and I want to figure out what's meaningful and what's not. And is there maybe a day trade or two in there? And there usually always is, especially during earnings season. It's just a matter of filtering properly, which I'm pretty good at filtering properly. So I spent a few weeks doing that, feeling really overwhelmed at first, but then slowly starting to get the hang of how I can find stuff to do. And my old skills are carrying over, and now I have context in with certain stocks because of earnings or whatever else, and drug announcements or new products or things that kind of move the needle and change the direction of the company. A story stock could be one of them. So it could be a lot of things. It could be, but when they all come together, the stock has a story, it has a catalyst, it has earnings like Zoom or Peloton. Then you have an instrument you can really lean on and trade a lot under a lot of different time frames. So there's that, and then there's these trades that I use. Say I identify something thematic that I really like. I can trade that during the day, and also it can be a swing trade that lasts a few days when the market breadth is ready to flip or it gets beat up or is extended. I'll be more careful. So trading futures, equity futures, I never looked at market breadth at all. There's really no need to. I mean, I guess it would have helped me to know a little bit more about it, but it's just a different world and it wasn't really necessary. But now I'm adding all that in too. So I'm starting to kind of develop this style that is complementary but different than my other style, and giving me more room to do stuff. So it's been really exciting this week, kind of watching a lot of the work I've put in kind of show up more in my profit. And the other strategy that has been really good to me, which is probably one of the most comfortable things for me in the stock market, is a stupid news strategy. And I'll give you two examples of what happened the last week that trades I did. Actually, one of them I missed, one of them I did, is you have something that's a casualty of stupid news that's not related. And example would be Alibaba had the Ant Financial IPO in China, and it got pulled by regulators for whatever reason they had, which wasn't super important to me at the time. And Alibaba gapped way down. And I was watching JD and PDD in huge uptrends. China internet stocks in general have been doing really well. And then you have Biden winning. So that's perceived to be bullish. So you had some things going on. So I love it when the stupid news, the trend is already up in whatever instrument I'm looking at, and then there's stupid news that shakes everybody out, and then we aggressively will take a new high and resume the trend after. So what happened is you got big pullbacks in PDD and JD the day of the Alibaba stupid news, and they just ripped the next 3 or 4 days after. Even before the stock market rally, they just kind of started going right after the open. And that's a casualty of going down on the Alibaba news, but it really has nothing to do with it. The other one, so I missed that one. I saw it, but I kind of tried to be too perfect on my entry and I missed it. But the one that I did very well on, which was similar, was Smith & Wesson and Ruger. Gun stocks have great earnings. Gun registrations are up. People are moving from the city to the suburbs, so you're getting a lot of people just purchasing more weapons when they're in a rural area. Just tends to be the trend. So you have a lot of the things working fundamentally for gun stocks. I don't need to know all the fundamentals. I just need to know 80%. So I feel like I have a pretty good handle on that. Looked at the last few reports and was kind of watching that they were at a good level. And then when Trump looked like he was going to lose after a hot start, the next day gun stocks opened down like quite a bit. I think they went down as much as 15% or something. And I was an aggressive buyer of those because at that point on the chart, the risk was so low. And this is a really important theme is when you put a big position on, it's not about thinking that it's really going to work out for sure. It's about thinking that it might work out, but if it doesn't, I'm not going to get hurt. So that's the logic. And that's where the gun stocks were sitting. And it's worked out well so far. I'm going to hold it for a longer trade. But that was another stupid news trade. I don't think the president has anything to do with how gun stocks do. I think that's just a perception because of the protests. So that's a big theme of mine. And I've had some of my better trades this year have come off this stupid news type thing. So when I come in the morning, I'll always look at, is there any stupid news today? And I'll write it down and I'll say, is anything else maybe affected by this? And oftentimes it's better to wait a day and then they do it for 2 days and then you buy the next day or the third day. Sometimes it depends. It's the first day. It's kind of a little bit of an art form and how to execute, but when you do enough of them, you figure that out. But the big key is the trend is already set and the stupid news pushes it against the trend and you want to take that position. There's so many of these that I've done in the past. So this is a very solid strategy. And then, so going from there, so to go back to the beginning, I'm getting long-winded. So I got this day trading future skill set, and now I've gotten up earlier in the morning and looked at catalysts and stocks and stupid news and earnings and themes and making these lists, these bucket lists. And sometimes there's a day trade, sometimes it's a swing trade. And there's an art form to figuring out when, but I'm working on that right now. And then sometimes it's a trade that lasts 2 or 3 months because it's a big durable theme and you're able to get in at a good area. You either buy an earnings gap or you buy a pullback. And that's kind of the direction I'm working now. So my point of saying all this is not normal for me. This is stuff that I haven't done. Like I learned to trade in a very different way than I'm still doing that, but I'm just layering this on top of it. I'm giving myself way more options. So usually when the market gets volatile or goes down, I'll do very well because it's volatile in the futures. And when it goes up, I can still make money in it, but I actually prefer it to be going sideways or down because there's more volatility, more swings. But now when I add this stuff, it works better when the market goes up. So I've added a whole nother element and I'm continuing to perfect that and work on that. But I think it's going to be a way for me to really scale myself a lot more. So I'll talk in the future about the different things I'm doing. But one of the things that is helping me for others that want to grow is you have to really understand how you are. I'm a person that I love lots of inputs. Like I know that simplicity rules and deep work rules, and I do deep work on certain stuff. But as a person, I'm kind of more like, I guess like someone described Jack Dorsey as this way, where they thrive on interruptions, they thrive on multitasking. And that's kind of how I am. And I know that that's not normal and it's not necessarily a good model for someone else to use. But the point being here is that I understand myself to do well looking at a lot of stuff and hearing a lot of opinions, and I'm good at filtering. So I've joined a lot of groups and I'm pulling a lot of information now. In every group you join, there's a few people who really know what they're doing, and you start to tune in, and then you have your own style and you start to be able to reverse engineer things and pull things into your own system. And this is what I did when I started trading futures as well. I learned from a lot of other really good traders. And I'm doing the same thing now. I'm starting to pull things from people who do different styles than me, specifically styles that do well when the market goes up, which is most people, right? The futures thing that I do is a little bit unorthodox, actually. But what's happening is I'm starting to figure out how to build a network and also build a skill set a few things, and they're getting stronger and stronger. And I can see this really helping me add another dimension. And to go back to the beginning of the podcast, as I'm going through this, it is painful. It's you feel lost. You'll do stupid trades. You'll lose money. You're looking at too many scans, too much software, too many names. And I really learned that it's important to come up with like a list of 1 to 3 things in the morning that you really want to focus on, and then build that list of thematic or earnings winners or whatever you want, if that's your style. And then look at those on a little longer time frame, maybe look for entries. But each day it's just looking at a few things, and there's so much going on that you could be doing, but you have to focus on a few things. And then as you build that skill and start to get successful, it kind of comes second nature. It's like when you first started driving, during your driving test, you were white knuckle on the steering wheel. Everything was, the blind spot, everything was a big deal. And then now you can drive, you're almost too distracted. You got your phone with you, and you're driving like it's second nature. And these things become like that. You'll just know what to do when you put the time in to really learn how to do it and to be focused. So I've had to kind of narrow my focus, give up some things. And it's funny because the future stuff, which is probably maybe the hardest, most complex stuff to learn, which was what I already learned, is second nature to me now. So I just know my attention just goes boom. I need to be trading S&P futures. I think we're going to go down today. And it's just like I go right into that mode when I need to. But this other stuff, I don't have that level of comfort yet, so I'm building it. And it's uncomfortable to build that, but that's how you grow. It's not comfortable. It's easy to do the same thing, but to really build and grow, this is what you go through. So I've learned how to analyze things fundamentally faster from a group, and that's been very helpful. So I can quickly analyze fundamentals and get to the 80% competency and determine if it's at least not crap. And that's something I didn't know how to do before. And, the technicals and the spot picking, I'm pretty familiar with from futures trading, but themes, identifying a theme, what's a legitimate catalyst, what's not, all that stuff. You just pick it up, you learn it, and you start building on it. So that's what's been keeping me busy, and it's been really exciting. It's almost like a second career in a way, which is quite rejuvenating actually. So I'm up a lot earlier and working a lot more right now, just building those skills. So don't be afraid to push yourself, try new things, join the groups if you're that kind of person like me, and you can kick out the stuff that you don't want later, because you don't want to be overspending on all this stuff. But sometimes you get in and then you learn what you're not. Like, this is not for me, and this might be for me, and I don't know yet. And then you meet people, and it's just part of the process. So that's what I'm doing right now.